This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Welcome to Season 3 of Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty alongside my co-host Daren Smith. Each week, we'll go in-depth with guests, industry experts, and we'll even share our own experiences, all with the goal of demystifying the independent film process. This season, it's all about the script, from the first spark of an idea to a polished final draft, breaking it down for scheduling, budgeting, and ultimately shooting. We'll walk through every step it takes to get from page to production. Welcome to Truly Independent. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty, your co-host, and not with me is Daren Smith, our other co-host. Daren is in New York right now and getting ready to do a read-through about a very exciting project that he's a part of. And so this week for our episode, we're going to play the Q&A session that we recorded recently at a screening of Faith of Angels. Now, this was recorded at a producer retreat up at Sundance. And before we screened the movie for this theater full of producers, we did a Q&A, more focused on what it was like to produce this independent film. And the answers we felt like were applicable to our truly independent audience because of the nature of how we produced this. So hopefully this will be of interest to you. Thank you very much for listening, for continuing to talk about the podcast and share the podcast. We love getting to interact with so many of you at different festivals or screenings or conferences or whatever it is. We have some exciting things in development that we're going to talk about on future episodes. For now, enjoy this Q&A session from Truly Independent.
My name is Daren Smith, and this is my dear friend Garrett Batty. Garrett is the writer, director, producer, and you have a cameo in this too, don't you? Or no?
I don't know if I have a cameo.
Not this one?
If it is, it's an accident. By accident.
But Garrett is the man behind this movie, Faith of Angels, behind us. So yes, you can applaud Garrett. He's amazing.
Well, it's a group. As you know, it's a group. Yeah, one guy takes all the credit, one guy does all the work. So that's how that works.
I had the privilege of producing this movie with you, and it's probably my favorite. Don't tell the other kids, but it's probably my favorite movie that I've had the pleasure of being involved in. So we wanted to do a bit of a Q&A. For those of you who don't know, I'm hosting a bit of a retreat for some producers that have come in from all over the country. And this is part of our programming, but we invited you so that you can meet them and they can meet you, and this gives us an opportunity to ask some questions. So I'll kick us off and then we'll open it up. So get your questions ready for Garrett and I, mainly for Garrett, please. I've done enough talking today. First question though, tell us how this movie found you and how you found this movie.
So this movie, and now, thank you, Daren, and thank you for putting this incredible retreat on and for inviting this film to be a part of it. And I've heard only good things about the first day of your retreat.
Yeah.
So lots of more information coming in the next couple of days. How's it been? The retreat's been all right?
Awesome.
Okay. I love it. I love it. So yes, this film, Faith of Angels, came to me. First of all, I don't know if we should recognize Janine Dennis, who's here with us. It'll mean a little bit after the movie. Janine Dennis is the mother of the boy on whom this film is based. So that is you're a guest of honor tonight, Janine. Thank you for being here.
Bonus points if you can see her cameo in the movie.
Yes, you might see it a couple of times. So look closely for Janine and give a woo-hoo when you see her. One of Janine's relatives, I won't say which one because it might spoil the ending of the movie, but he reached out to me. His wife, Joshua Dennis's wife, reached out to me and said, here's a story that's kind of in line with what you do. Actually, she reached out to a producer. They reached out to me. Yeah. And we get, as you know, we get a lot of those requests like, hey, here's an interesting story, or what about this? And sometimes our job as producers is to say, is this movie worth showing in front of an audience, or is this movie should this just be shared at Thanksgiving dinner for your family?
Right.
And when they talked to me about the story, I thought that deserves an audience. And so that's kind of how it started.
Amazing. Is that one of your criteria for the movies that you choose? We talked a little bit about that today. How do you choose the projects? So what about this one was like, yes, this is something I want to sink into for the next year?
Good question. A couple of things are my criteria, if that's what the question was.
Mm-hmm.
One, yes, I have to feel like, does it deserve an audience? 100%. I want to be involved. I can't force it to deserve an audience, right? I'm not that good of a writer. And then I have to ask myself if I am right to tell this movie, if I have something to add to it, or if I'm going to bumble it and mess it up, then no, I don't want to touch it. I've been approached a lot of times, hey, we've got an idea or we got a movie, and they tell me the idea and it's wonderful, and I realize I'm not the right guy to make this movie. Like, this movie would be so much better if so-and-so made it. Hey, let me give you Rob Diamond's information or something like that.
Yeah.
And so those two things are kind of my first criteria. And the third one is there any funding in place already?
Yeah.
That's usually a no.
Yes. Okay, amazing. I would love to hear questions from the audience. That's what this time is for. So if you have questions about the production, we're going to try really hard not to spoil the movie, so maybe don't ask questions about the movie that you haven't seen yet. But any question other than that is fair game. So raise your hands. I'll repeat it just so we have it for the podcast. But Bryson, let's start with you. Question was, what's the producing dynamic between the two of us and who does what, and how do we make that decision?
That's a great question. I love having a producing partner that has the skill set and qualities that Daren has. For me, just in my experience, the projects have usually come to me, or the stories have come to me, I've developed to a certain point where I say, okay, now I need to shift gears and put on the directing hat, and I need somebody to clean up my mess that I've made producing. So the past two times I've called Daren and said, here's where we're at. The first one, I don't know if you talked about Carpenter. I said, Daren,
Not really.
We've never worked together. I know you come highly recommended. I'm going to Africa in a couple of weeks.
You didn't say Africa yet.
Oh, I said I've got a project.
Yeah, maybe I did before I knew where we were filming.
I didn't lead with Africa.
No.
So I've got a project. It's real nice. Should we sleep in your own bed? Do you want to be involved? And told him a little bit about the project, and then I could focus. Once Daren said yes, I'm on board to produce, then I say, okay, great. Here's the sandbox we're playing in. Here's the rules. Here's our budget that we can't go over. Here's the money I've raised. Spend it wisely.
Yeah.
And he takes over from there, and I get to focus on directing. At the end of the movie, Daren says, here's it all tidied up, and go make it work.
Yeah.
Is that?
I completely agree. I support all of the things you said. My take on my role as a producer, if I'm being hired to come in for just production instead of fundraising, development, and all the things all the way to distribution, my job is to protect this creative space for the creative people that are on the film. That starts with the director, writer, but it applies to every single cast and crew member on the film. And so anything that is not their creative endeavors, I'm protecting this creative stuff so they can do their best work, and I'm taking care of it over here so they don't have to think about it, smell it, look at it, do anything with it. And having the trust is essential, I think, because otherwise, in the back of his head all day long, he's thinking, I wonder what Daren's up to. I wonder if Daren's doing that thing he said he was going to do. I wonder how this is going. And that's not a place for him to be able to do his best work. So that's how I see that part of the role.
When I've produced without a producing partner, I'm on the phone with SAG or whatever it is, trying to direct the movie, or they say, hey, what are you doing the next day to prepare? And it's like, oh, probably trying to put out fires that a producer should be doing and a director shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And so it is so nice. It's funny because when I produce without Daren, there's always a lot more drama. And the truth is, there's drama when I produce with Daren. I just don't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he as a buffer for that.
Yeah.
And what's the creative process behind based on true events? Because I tend to gravitate towards those. 6 out of my 7 films that I've made are based on true events, and probably 5. I don't know. Anyway, I gravitate towards that. And Janine can tell you. I mean, there's an extensive research process, probably a lot like a documentary. I'd approach it as if I were making a documentary. Say, what is the heartbeat of this story? Who are the main players and protagonists? And then, who is this story affected? and I try to get interviews and research from all of those angles, and then starts the fun writing process, and we kind of build the story matrix based on that and say who is involved and at what point does the main story affect them, and from there the narrative sort of shows itself.
How much leeway do you give yourself?
How much
Leeway.
Do you give yourself to play with?
as far as creative liberties or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that in my story, because they are based on true stories, I think truth is always stronger than the drama that I can create, right? If I want to go, I want to invent this amazing, feel-good miracle in the middle of this based on a true story, I think the audience is smarter than that. They can see right through that. So I try not to invent dramatic beats, but I will give myself plenty of leeway to to maneuver true beats to fit the narrative arc. Like, how do we communicate in film? We tell a story, and there's a format that people communicate with. And if this beat needs to happen earlier, that's okay. Just as you would telling a story. If somebody's nodding and listening, you're going to keep going. If somebody's kind of dazing off, you're going to move over here and shift something around to get their attention again.
How do you decide how to distribute the movie? That's a you question as well.
Distribution, we've been very fortunate. My first film was distributed in theaters through a friend of mine who is now the head of distribution for Angel Studios. So he cut his teeth on my first film, and it played in 100 theaters across the country. So the decision is usually show it to him if he wants it. Great, that's an easy decision. We take into account, honestly, who our audience is, if we can reach our audience. A lot of my films are faith-based, so we'll target faith-based areas, Salt Lake City or Atlanta, Georgia, or areas where faith-based films have performed very well, and kind of select theaters and distribute to those. Some films I've done a documentary, and it's like, as much as I want to see it on the big screen, it's probably not a good investment to put it on. Just because you make a movie, it doesn't mean it deserves. It doesn't mean what's the right word? I don't want to say deserves a theater, but it's not going to play the best in a theater audience, right? And so I think each story, wherever you can find their audience, kind of leads how I'm going to try to distribute it.
How much of it is a creative process?
How much of distribution is a creative process? Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I think the
I
marketing.
didn't even go for that angle. Yeah, the marketing is.
I think the marketing is the creative aspect of that. The distribution is very kind of technical and logistical. It's like, who wants it? Where's the demand from the marketplace? And then it's literally shipping materials, posters, and the DCP like we have that we're playing it off. It's in lining up those dates and making sure that we have the proper amount of screening times and that kind of thing. That's all very technical, but the creative part, I think, comes in how do you get more demand for the people that are coming to see the movie and buying tickets and sitting through the movie. Gotcha.
Great question. Yes, and I will say this. I feel like the marketing process as filmmakers is so fun. It is a storytelling process as well. And so you have to kind of decide these beats on how you're going to market your film. Mm-hmm. And at some point you're going to tease it, and then you're going to reveal a little bit more of the plot, and then you're going to show your cast, right? And build that, and hopefully build an audience and tell that story. For each campaign that I'm releasing a movie where we're doing a theatrical release, we get together with our marketing team and put together the play that we're going to run. And then we run that play we say, okay, this is a 9-month campaign or a 6-month campaign, and we're going to run this play, and these are the beats, these are the story elements that we're going to release at these times. And it's very much kind of narrative driven, just like telling a story and making a feature film.
Yeah.
What about this one?
This one, same way. So the pivot, our key moment, and actually today, Daren, did you realize this? Today is 1 year from the premiere that we did our premiere event for Faith of Angels. So yeah, how about that? We're all, who knew that a year later we'd still be in theaters?
Count it.
So with Faith of Angels, one of the key elements that we felt was important was that September was the anniversary of the time of year that this event took place. And so we said, okay, let's develop a campaign based on, 35 years ago, Joshua Dennis was lost in an abandoned mine. And our campaign was based on that. the idea was to get some news coverage, some earned media on that, and kind of run in that direction.
Yeah. Okay, Karina, then Jake and Steven after.
Okay, technical question as a producer. Because this is based on a true story, did you acquire life rights and so forth? What was that arrangement?
Yes.
Yes, getting
yes.
the rights to the story.
Yeah, because it's based on a true story. We did acquire life rights, and it's from all of the principals that were featured in the film. And even down to, Joel, we've got Joel Bishop here who appears in the film. He plays one of the key individuals who's involved in this story. And the person on whom his character is based is a real individual. So we met with him, and it's just a one-page document. It says, we're trying to make a movie. It's an independent film. Nobody's going to get rich. But can we use your image?
Yeah.
But we hope
we do.
hope the story gets out there.
Yeah, so the question is about structuring the deal and what are you giving away and what are you holding back, and you want that one?
Sure, and it's all, for me, I try to take into consideration who the distributor is and what they can do for the film. And that's probably, hopefully they'll need to earn what we give away. I'm learning right now. I feel like this past year, learning, especially on this film, we've been very, very fortunate. And we say, look, we're not going to do exclusive deals, right? If you have a distributor, you have an audience, right? Because I don't think a distributor is going to go out and find an audience for your movie. They want the easiest job possible, which is to take a movie that's already made and give it to the audience that already exists. So, okay, great. They can push those buttons and do that. So for that, we'll give them a small percentage. And they are non-exclusive because nobody cares about this movie more than the producer and the director. And we're going to work night and day.
Maybe Janine.
Janine cares about this movie, and yes, yeah, that's true.
For this one
if Janine wasn't
specifically.
here, don't tell her I'm saying this. Nobody cares about this. We're working night and day to get people to see this movie. And I don't want to easily give away 40% for somebody to put it in a catalog.
So the question was about how do you do the equity splits with the different investors and financiers that are coming in?
Yeah, and one of the things I've found in the several films that I've done is each deal is different, each investor is different, and I love to try to find out what they want, what interests them, and then tailor the deal accordingly. For this particular film, we had one investor, and so it was a very simple split and say, you take everything until you make this plus some, and then we get a little bit.
Yeah. And then just to follow up on, this is a creative question. What was your writing process like? How long did it take you to complete the screenplay? And what was your day like when you were writing it?
So the question's on the writing process. What was your day like? How long did it take you to write this script?
If I were a more disciplined writer, I'd probably have a good answer. But
if Garrett was
it
more disciplined, is the funniest thing I've heard all
far
day
more
today.
focused writer. The writing process. We talked about just lots of interviews, just tons and tons of interviews, and then transcribing those and making sure that I listen. I always listen, repeat to the interviews until I feel like this story is coming together. I'll even build a story matrix and say, look, here's the 10 people that we've interviewed, and then here are the dates of these events that are occurring, and where's this person on this date, and so forth, and is that a key element to this story? So I build a big story matrix. And then build kind of a 90 beat, a 3 beat, where's Robert? You guys talked about this, story tree, right?
Yeah.
So he builds 3 beats, what is it, first act, second act, third act, and then breaks those down into 3, 3, 3, to the point where he has 75. I build 90, maybe you do 90 or something like that. You need to talk to Robert here. Yes.
Brandon's his partner on that.
So once we have 90 slug lines, then it's just a matter of filling in the scenes. And if I run into an issue and can't get past a certain scene, I'm able to go to scene 70 and just start writing. And the idea is that either morning or night, when I'm not distracted, write for a couple of hours. I figure on an independent film, if we're shooting 6 to 8 pages a day, I got to be able to write that. Like that, we should be able to write that. So first draft is just all messy and ugly, and just it's the shame draft. And then the second draft, you have matter and you start to organize it.
Amazing. I think we're at time. Do we have one quick question? Yeah, the question's the difference between doing it all on your own, directing and producing, versus your experience having a producing partner.
I think, and there are people in this room, Karina, including you, who have produced, right, who are producing and directing and doing all of that. I think it wasn't until I had a producing partner that I could really answer that question and go, oh, I'm shirking my role as a director, being able to focus on the story, being able to communicate with my actors, and really kind of really serve the story in a director capacity if I'm split between a producer and a director. And so anything that's producerial, saying, hey, we need such and such for this scene, and how is that going to get here? And we need this cast member or crew member or whatever it is, to just be able to put that off and to say, focus on what is the heartbeat of this scene and how am I best going to cover it. That's what it enabled me to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those questions. I'll just direct your attention briefly to this large screen behind me. Both Garrett and I have projects that we're working on now. And so if you are interested, Garrett's got a really cool setup with Help Them See Foundation. So if you go to helpthemseefoundation.org, you can see what he's up to and how they're putting really great movies into the world through that foundation. And you all know about me, so I'll leave it at that.
Well, I don't. Go to Daren's QR code for Craftsman Films, because the film fund is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Oh, awesome.
As far as putting as far as investors and what he's doing to protect an investor's capital. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you, Garrett. All right. Thank you all for being here. We hope you enjoy the show. This is the 1-year anniversary of our premiere of Faith of Angels.
This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Thanks for joining us. If you are enjoying Truly Independent, please share and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the journey. Today's episode was edited by Michael Bradford and produced by 3 Coin Productions.